Hey everyone, it's Christina from Proverbs 31 Homestead. I have had a lot of questions lately about safe ways to change canning recipes. Now, we tend to be divided onto two sides of things, rather as we are politically. Some people are, I will always follow a tested safe recipe exactly. And some people are rebel canners and they do pretty much whatever they want. Well, I consider myself more towards the type who's going to use only a tested safe recipe. That's all I use. But I can follow the science and what the extension offices and the National Center for Home Food Preservation say is safe to tweak in a recipe. And you might be surprised at the ways that you can customize recipes for canning that are totally safe. Now, it would be really onerous for me to try and read off my source information here as far as like what the extension offices or what the National Center for Home Food Preservation say about these changes. But so you can either just take my word for it, or I'm going to link to this wonderful article on the Healthy Canning website that really, it discusses, I think, pretty much everything I'm going to talk about today, but it quotes and shows you all the references that indicate that all these things are safe. It was written several years ago, so there's even more evidence now if you published guidelines, let's put it that way, that you could look up on your own if you wanted to. Okay, without further ado, there are 6 things I have written down for ways that you can change canning recipes safely. So first, let's talk about acidity. If you know anything about home canning, you know that acidity is really important. It tells you what things can be safely water bathed, what things have to be pressure canned. And in canning recipes, one of the main things they look at is perhaps adding acidity, putting it into the recipe in order to make a canning recipe safe. This is one reason why we always want to use tested safe recipes. A good example is tomatoes. A lot of people think that heirloom tomatoes are acidic enough. You don't need to add anything to them when you're home canning just tomatoes in a jar. But the truth is, we've known since at least the 30s that tomatoes of all types, including heirloom types, are borderline acidic, which is why modern tested safe recipes always have you add some kind of acid. It could be vinegar, it can be lemon juice, it can be citric acid. Okay, so with acidity, which is measured as pH, the lower the pH number, the higher the acidity is. So let me just read you this handy dandy list. Apple cider vinegar has a pH of 3.1. White distilled vinegar has an acidity of 2.4 to 3.4 pH. Lime juice, 2 to 2.8. Lemon juice, 2 to 2.6. Now, knowing this, you can learn to substitute the type of acid in a recipe if you like. So we know that lemon and lime juice are essentially the same. Lime juice can be slightly more acidic, actually. And we're talking about bottled here because when you're doing fresh squeezed lemons or limes, the acidity could be lower than this. So with canning, we always want to use a bottled lemon or lime juice. If you don't like the flavor of a bottled juice that you have bought at the store, try a different brand because they can vary a lot. And some have a lot of added ingredients and some don't. Anyway, so it would be safe in a canning recipe that called for lemon juice to substitute it with lime juice. You could use all lime juice or just partial lime juice and part lemon juice. It's going to affect the flavor, obviously. But as far as acidity goes, it's safe. It's also safe to since we're mostly talking about bottled for home canning, right? It's bottled vinegar that we're after because our homemade apple cider vinegar could have a totally different pH. But if you're in this grocery store, you're buying your apple cider vinegar, or any other type of vinegar, you need 5% acidity. It should say that on the label. Therefore, if they're all 5% acidity, it is safe to sub them. Okay, now salt and sugar, kind of lumping those together. Salt is not a preservative in canning, ever. Therefore, it is just for flavor, and it's safe to reduce the amount or omit it completely. Sort of a little but is if you are fermenting something and then canning it, salt in a tested safe recipe for fermenting has to be the correct quantity, or you will end up with something that could make you sick. So, for example, there is a recipe where you ferment the cabbage to make sauerkraut and then you can it, which kills all the good probiotics, by the way. But if you were to do that, you want to make sure that you use all the salt that is called for in that recipe. Otherwise, it's not a concern. Sugar. Sugar is slightly more complicated. In most canning recipes, you can reduce or omit it completely. However, if you are making a jam or jelly that has pectin in it, you have to have the sugar because otherwise the pectin won't gel. The exception to that is something like Pomona's pectin, which I love because it does not require sugar to gel. So if you don't put in the right amount of sugar in a jam or jelly recipe, it's just not going to work. Let's see. The other exception is something called water activity. So in some recipes, the pectin and the sugar bind up the water in the recipe, and that's what makes it safe, okay? The way you can know when water activity is vital to the safety of a recipe is you look at the ingredients. And hopefully you're familiar enough with what's a low acid food and what's a high acid food. If you're not, then I don't suggest messing with the sugar in a recipe. But if it has a low acid food in it, but it is water bathed, water activity is vital. There aren't a ton of recipes like this, but one example is Ball has it's called maple walnut syrup, and the ingredients are walnuts, water, corn syrup, maple syrup, and sugar. Walnuts are low acid. So you would think you would have to pressure can it, right? But you don't because of the water activity in it. So you would not want to reduce or omit the sugar in that recipe, or you could get very sick. Seasonings. This is easy. It is always safe to add or change dry seasonings. Don't use fresh herbs and spices, but dry. That is always safe. The only problem that can come in is that some spices and seasonings, well, first of all, they get stronger during processing of your jars, but sometimes they can taste bitter too after processing. So it's better to either just use a small amount, way smaller than you would if you were just like, let's say you want to do taco meat. You're probably going to use a lot less seasoning when you can that than when you cook it on your stovetop, because otherwise things might taste bitter. But if you're testing it out, start with a small quantity, do 1 jar, and then open the jar and taste it first, just because otherwise you might end up with product that you don't really want to eat. Okay, peppers. Fresh peppers are interchangeable. So if it calls for bell peppers, you can put in jalapeno peppers, or vice versa. But you want to use the same quantity or less. Do not add more because they're a low acid ingredient. The same thing is true for onions. You can switch up types of onions. If the recipe calls for a purple onion, you can use a white onion and vice versa. But shallots and green onions are no-goes. You don't want to substitute those in a recipe, okay? They're not really considered a proper, onion. Okay, finally, the size of the jar you can change. But here's the rule. You can always go down sizes, but you cannot go up sizes. So if you have a recipe that is tested safe and it calls for, let's say, a quart jar, it is safe to use a pint jar or even like a jelly jar. All those are safe. But you cannot take, let's say, something that is written for a jelly jar and use a pint jar or a quart jar. And the reason for that is you would have to guess at the processing time, and you can't do that. It has to be tested and retested, the jar is inoculated, and they want to make sure that nothing can grow in that jar, and you can't guess at that. But if you go down jar sizes, you keep the processing time the same. So bear that in mind. For example, if you wanted to do salsa and your recipe called for a pint jar, which I think they all do, you can put it in a jelly jar, but it's going to be more cooked, so it might be softer in texture. And I think that's it. So I hope you can see that there's lots of ways you can customize your canning recipes if you follow a few safe rules. Thanks for watching. I hope that you will share this video, subscribe, follow me on Facebook, follow the blog, and I'll see you next time.